Welcome everyone to the RTV studios on the campus of Martinsville High School for another edition of Inside Martinsville Basketball here on the MHS Rewind YouTube channel and WREP 15 Sports. I'm your host Eric Meyer, joined as always by Artesian Haute coach Kip Staggs. Coach, appreciate you joining us this week.
It's always a pleasure.
Got a lot to talk about on this week's show. Going a couple of weeks back, we'll take a look at the Artesians' doubleheader weekend where they got a win over Terre Meridian and then took the Bloomington South Panthers to overtime. And we'll talk about Martinsville's game on Friday, Mid-State Conference contest on the road when they battled Franklin. And then we'll look ahead to kind of an unusual weekend for the Artesians because of the girls sectional. They're playing on Thursday and then Saturday afternoon this week. But up first, Coach, let's talk a little bit about that weekend a couple of weeks ago when you hosted Terre Meridian and then Bloomington South. You're 1-1 after that weekend, but overall you probably had to feel pretty good about where the team was. They played pretty well in both those games.
Yeah, it was a good weekend for us, and if you liked a change of tempo, you could have one tempo on one night and another tempo on the other night. And so Terre Meridian game was one of those games where you had to be very patient on the defensive end. You couldn't get in a hurry, and I thought our guys handled things pretty well, and we were able to get a few stops. Even though it was a 10-point win and that type of tempo, you could really interpret it to be even a greater win than that.
It was a big win for you guys over Terre Meridian and Hall of Fame coach Mark James. The Artesians get the victory. Let's go ahead right now to the highlights. Not a ton of them because not a lot of points scored. We'll roll the highlights right now and take a look at those.
Well, you can tell right away, it's 5 minutes into it or 3 minutes into it, and it's a 2-point game. And, Caleb hits a nice little jumper right there. And, here again, it's 2-2, and it's just inside of 2 minutes, and Brody hits a three on the left wing. So, it was just kind of that pace of a game, and that's the kind of game they want to play. They came out in a 3-2 zone, which was something that we had worked on a little bit in the practice, but, he was really trying to slow the game down even more. And, Grady was able to knock down a couple threes here to help keep us moving, and I was just real pleased with how we responded. You can get really frustrated in these kind of games. You can lose your patience, but I think we just handled ourselves very well. And as you notice, Grady hits another three, and he's really starting to be moving up the scouting report for other teams. He's a guy that they talk about a little bit towards the beginning of their scout instead of near the end, and he was able to knock some shots down. Here we start the second half, and Skylar makes a nice move, little shot fake, gets inside the paint area there, and knocks it down, and here's a nice kick out, and Caleb with the pull-up. And I thought we had a really pretty good rhythm right through here. It's 21-12, and we really couldn't extend it during that time frame, but we were able to just kind of maintain that 8 to 10 point game, even got it to 12 a couple times. And we were able to make some free throws down the stretch, which were huge. Here's Skylar with a nice three in the corner, and after a nice assist, I believe that was from Caleb. So we were able to maintain that lead, but it was one of those things where at one point it was a 7-point game and they had the ball and missed a three, and with 4 or 5 minutes to go, if that ball goes in, now it's 4 points, middle of the fourth quarter, anything can happen. But fortunately he missed. Our guys showed a little patience down the stretch and made some free throws.
Like we said, a big Mid-State Conference win for you guys, having to play at that slowed down pace. The three ball was big for you guys in the contest, and your team responded to anything that they kind of did. You guys really had kind of an answer in that low-scoring affair. Yeah,
so like I said, they were in a 3-2 zone, and we were able to get inside of that zone a little bit. Probably not as much as we need to, but we were able to manage that. And we're seeing more and more of the 3-2 zone as the seasons wore on. I think back to Plainfield. I think back to Columbus North. There was another game in there, where we faced maybe Indian Creek and now Terre Meridian. So teams are really looking at us, from a matchup perspective. How can you guard Martinsville? They've got predominantly 4 guards, and then Jack's able to handle the ball a little bit, so we don't have that low post true presence. And so teams are going to have to, they're trying to match up with us a little bit differently, and I think you saw some of that the following night when we played Bloomington South.
You mentioned Bloomington South, you mentioned the contrast in styles, and it definitely was the contrast in styles there on Saturday night. But one thing that was a constant, you guys both shot the 3-point basketball very well in the game, and it was a high-scoring game. It goes into overtime. You had some chances, just came up a little bit short, but overall, probably pretty happy with the way the kids played and competed against South on Saturday.
Well, I thought our intent to start the game was outstanding, probably more so than any other game through the course of the year. I thought we really came out focused, and we really had a purpose about what we were doing. And I think some of it stems from the loss last year in the sectional. I think some of our guys were still hurt by that loss, but we came out with great intent, got off to a pretty good start, and moved into the second quarter. In the second quarter, I thought defensively we fell off. We're up 17-12 at the end of the first, but we give up 23 in the second quarter. And I thought we shot quick during some of those stretches. Didn't think we managed the first half of that quarter very well. And that's something we talked about in the film room on Monday. But two contrasting styles from one night to the next. Think it'll help us down the road. You know, if we play Greenwood in the sectional and then turn around and play again maybe Bloomington North, Bloomington South, you're going to see that contrast. But, you know, 9 lead changes, 9 ties in the game. As you mentioned, just came up a little bit short. One thing I was, you know, proud about our guys, it was 58-53 late in the fourth quarter, about a minute and a half to go, and we were able to get a basket, get a stop, get another basket, and that put it back to 58-all, which gave us a chance to hang in there. Then they had the ball. They went down, missed a little runner. We get the rebound, take it to half court, shoot it, go to overtime. Go into overtime, and we got off a decent start there. Ended up trading a couple baskets, and you know, they got up. We're down 2. You know, we've got a play where we've got an option for a 2 drive or for the 3, and the play we just didn't score. So I felt like overall it was a pretty good night for us. I thought that second quarter is what really kind of hurt us because it gave them a little breath of life and gave them a little momentum going in the second half.
Well, you heard about some of what happened in the contest. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of what happened and roll the highlights from that game against Bloomington South.
So here's an inbounds play. We get it into Will, and he finds Brody on the outside. And Brody got off to a really good start for us. And I thought, you know, he played exceptionally well. And here he is coming off a handoff and shot fakes. And we kind of figured that their big would switch or be present in that area. And then here's a little ball screen that Jack sets, and Brody's able to knock that 3 down. And again, that really got us off to a good start to start this game. And then, you know, here's Caleb driving in there and kicking out I believe that's Reese. And Reese really starts to, you know, he's starting to play much better as he's moved on and throughout the course of the year. He knocks that 3 down. You know, and Grady, as we mentioned, you know, is just really shooting the ball well, about 45% from 3. And is really shooting a pretty high percentage. And this is late in the quarter, and we've really worked with Caleb about going ahead and taking that shot, playing with confidence. You know, you're in the gym as much, if not more, than anybody else, so don't hesitate to shoot it. And so we're really glad to see him do that. And here's a nice drive by Grady, a little hesitation move, and able to get to the basket. And that's something he's got to do a little bit more and more. You know, get to that foul line and get 6 or 7 free throws in a game. And then, as you notice, you know, it's pretty tight through this stretch. And I think a lot of it is, you know, we're just not able to get any stops on them right through here. And, you know, we're kicking it out. Will with a nice drive and a finish and got it to go. And so we're ahead. And then, you know, all of a sudden, you know, they go on a little bit of a run to take the lead, as you see here. And Caleb with a nice drive and the finish and goes to the free throw line, which was big. You know, we got on a little bit of a drought there, but they kept scoring during that time frame. And then to finish up the half, we gave up a 3 at the other end. We pushed the ball, and Brody makes a nice shot fake and a basket there to get it within 1. And then that's a little play right there. That's kind of a design deal for us where, you know, we try to look for the miss and what, you know, take an option away. And there's a tough shot by Brody, and you see right through here, you know, South's kind of maintained control of the game, you know, 4 or 5 points. South tries to press us here, and, you know, Grady is found on the left wing and knocks it down. And, you know, he's a guy you don't want to leave open. And Brody shot the ball really well in this game as well. And so it just, you know, we really just traded baskets quite a bit. And nice drive there, and we're able to you know, tie it up here and going into the fourth quarter. And then it was just really a really well-played game by both teams. Here's a backside screen, and Skylar's able to knock that down, puts us up 1 with about 5 to go, and and then they go on a 5 or an 8-3 run, but then we're able to come back and answer, at that minute and a half, and while we're down 5, we talked about, and we were able to put ourselves back in that position. So, it was a game that kind of went back and forth, and as I told our guys after the game, this was a sectional type feel. The officiating is going to be what it is, and you got to play through some of that, and teams are going to make runs at you, and you got to handle those runs, and you got to play through some adversity, and so it had a little bit of all of that wrapped up into one game.
So the highlights kind of run out after Skylar hits that shot as well. All free throws basically down the stretch from there, from you guys getting to the free throw line, and did a really nice job at hitting the free throws for the most part throughout that contest.
Yeah, we shot it well. Jack Wolf hit a couple big free throws down that stretch that you mentioned, and we've been a decent free throw shooting team. I think we need to be better. I think we've got some guys that can shoot free throws better than what they're actually doing right now, and so we've spent a little bit more time on that recently. But I just disappointed for our guys as much as anything. I thought we played pretty well, and sometimes you play well and the scoreboard doesn't reveal what you think should be the result, and I think that was probably the case. And I just told our guys, we just got to keep chipping away at the rock, keep hitting on the rock, if you will, and because our time's going to come. And we've had 3 or 4 games here in the month of January where we're just right there, whether it was Bedford or whether it was Seymour or whether in this case Bloomington South. We just got to keep hammering away, and our time's going to come. The luck's going to come our way a little bit. It's going to come to us.
Feeling pretty good coming out of that weekend with the win over Perry and Bloomington South. And then you've got a Franklin team that comes up last Friday, and this is a Franklin team that made it all the way to the regional championship last year. They got a lot of those guys back. They kind of run hot and cold. They've got some really good athletes. You hit them on a night when they were playing pretty hot last Friday, and they come away with a victory over you guys.
Well, they shot 56% the first half, and you're not going to beat too many people, giving up that kind of shooting percentage, and that really hurt us and it kind of got us behind the 8 ball. And and then at the same time, while we shot it pretty well the weekend before, we didn't shoot it so well on the road, and so that bad combination, right? They shoot it well, we don't. We didn't really change a whole lot offensively. And, we felt like they had 3 guys that can make some threes, and they made 8 of them. And we weren't able to get out on those guys and find them. I thought we paid a lot of attention to the Davis kid, and which we did a decent job, but he had 6 assists. So while he had 17 points, he found his teammates in a position where they could score. And so, just really wasn't a good game for us. We tried to make a little run there. I thought we played a little harder, start the third quarter, and then, they kept it at 12-15, and it wasn't a good game for us overall.
Kind of one of those teams, too, that kind of feeds off of their success and energy, and they had some big plays, kind of energy plays for them early on, and helped feed into their little bit of their run.
Well, no doubt. They had another kid inside, the Beverly kid, who played real well. He's 6'5", he's long, lanky, dunked it a couple times, and I think to your point, they kind of fed off of that, and so they just got off to a good start, and we weren't able to ever slow them down. And as I told our guys, we've got to be able to do the zone better. Like, we got into the zone in the second quarter, and it kind of slowed them down and got them standing, but they still scored on 3 straight possessions. One was a wide open 3 in the corner. Another one was a putback off of a rebound where we just didn't go get it. And so, we've got to be able to do some things other than play man-to-man in the half court.
We have that game last week. You come back this week. You have a doubleheader week, if you will, but it's very unusual because of the girls sectional. You have that contest, what you do on a Thursday night now. Then you'll come back on a Saturday night, or Saturday afternoon, we should say, and play against Terre, Haute North. Let's flip to the Speedway contest here coming up on Thursday night. What are the spark plugs going to bring to town on Thursday?
Well, they've got a 6'5" point guard that's what I think is a pretty good little player. He's sees the floor really well, and he can get to the basket with his left hand, and he's really good at 15 feet and in. And they've got some other guys that just really bang and finish around the basket, and he plays a few young kids that can throw them in there a little bit. So I don't think their record's indicative of their team, but I think that 6'5" kid is a really nice player, and He played against us 2 years ago, and I think that might have been one of the first times that the schools had played basketball against one another. And I think he had 10 against us, and so he's not going to be fearful of playing us at all. And so I think, they got a nice win on Saturday, and so they're going to come in with a little bit of confidence and look forward. And this is a big game for them. This is a 4A school and a big gym. Thursday night, coming off a win, they're going to have a little boost of confidence, and they're going to feel pretty good about themselves coming in. So, as most games, we're going to have to play well.
What are some of the things you've seen that they like to do, maybe offensively, defensively, as they'll come to town on Thursday?
Well, they're a 1-4 UCLA cut, pick and roll. You're going to see a lot of that. They've played predominantly a lot of man-to-man, but they will sprinkle some zone in, 2-3 and 3-2. They press a little bit here and there, but that's pretty much what they do in a nutshell. And we're going to have to play well, as I mentioned, and we're going to have to handle the pick and roll. We're going to have to tag the roller. We're going to have to make sure that we find shooters on the weak side. And I think offensively, we're going to have to be more efficient. I thought against Franklin, our first quarter was probably about as poor as we have done efficient-wise. And what I mean by efficiency, if you have 8 possessions, did you score on 2 of them? You score on 6 of them. And when we played Bloomington South, our efficiency was really good. We had low turnovers. You can have low turnovers, but if your efficiency is not very good,
right,
you can miss shots. But you've got to be able to put the ball in the basket a little bit. So our efficiency on offense is going to have to be better than it was against Franklin.
That points per possession, always the huge thing right now. You can go 10% from the field, but if you pull down 8 offensive rebounds, you still got a bucket.
That's right.
It's 2 points. That's what you're looking for. Points per possession.
And some of our guys have got to find ways to impact the game. And as we looked at the plus-minus chart from last Friday, we had some guys that you look at their first quarter, you look at their second quarter, and there's nothing there. They played 4 or 5 minutes, and there's no rebounds, there's no assists, there's no steals, there's no caused turnovers, no take charges, there's not even a shot attempt. And so, you've got to find ways to impact the game, and it's not all about shots. And, I told our guys a long time ago, and I probably need to tell them again, if you take 10 shots in a game, and I ask them, I said, well, okay, how many shots are you going to take in a game? And they say 10. I said, all right. So you got 10 shots in a game. How many seconds does it take you to shoot the shot? And they're like, well, I don't know. And I said, well, let's just say it's 2 seconds, because if you can't get the shot off in 2 seconds, you're probably not going to shoot it anyway. So you take 10 shots, you got 2 seconds per shot. That's 20 seconds during the game that you are involved with shooting. Okay, so you got 20 seconds. How many minutes do you think you'll play in a game? 20, 15, 25? So let's just, for the simplicity of math, we say you play 20 minutes in a game. Well, you play 20 minutes, you shoot 10 times, takes you 20 seconds to shoot it. Well, what are you doing with the other 19 minutes? Like, how are you impacting the game during that other 19 minutes when you're out there? Are you rebounding? Are you talking? Are you getting through screens? Are you talking to your teammates? Are you getting back on defense? What are you doing that other 19 minutes to impact the game to the way that your team's going to be successful? And so that's what we need to make sure especially our young guys understand. You can impact the game without scoring the ball. You can impact the game without dribbling it every once in a while. What can you do? And you've got to impact the game somehow, some way.
Well, try to impact that game on Thursday night at Speedway. The Spark Plugs come to town to battle the Artesians. And then, like we said, that unusual week continues on Saturday afternoon. You'll travel over to Haute to battle a pretty good Terre Haute North Ball Club.
Yeah, and they just came off of an overtime loss to Bedford on Saturday night, and I'm sure they're going to be upset about that. And playing at Terre Haute North's a tough place. I remember a few years ago we had a guy throwing into the bleachers, and there's no call. You have these phantom calls from time to time, kind of out of nowhere, and it's just what you're going to get when you go over there. But Todd Wolfley does a good job with his group, and he's got 10 or 12 guys that he'll run in and out. And he expects them to play at a high level, and if they don't, there's another guy coming in, and you might play 18 minutes one night, and the next night you might play 6, and they just they have a long bench, but they'll run a lot of stuff. They're well coached. Yeah, I think they're 12-6 right now, and they play a decent schedule, and I don't think it's as strong as our schedule, but I think they do a pretty good job over there, and it's always a tough place to play.
Good opportunity for your boys, though, coming up in the next 2 contests.
Well, no doubt, and I think also with Saturday, you know, one thing about Thursday night's game is that they've got to get up and they've got to get ready for school the next day. And we don't have to go through that much. And that helps us a little bit as you look forward to the sectional tournament, because you're going to have to probably play on a Tuesday, a weeknight, and get up the next day and turn around and get ready right away for your next opponent. And then the Saturday afternoon game is good because if you advance to the regional, you're going to play on a Saturday afternoon. So you kind of experience that a little bit ahead of time. So I think there's some advantages of playing on that Thursday, Saturday scenario. And hopefully those are things we can learn from and it'll pay off down the road.
Coach, we appreciate you joining us once again this week. Good luck this week coming up.
Thank you very much.
It's Artesian head coach Kip Staggs here inside Martinsville basketball. Like we said, Thursday night, Martinsville at home against the Speedway Spark Plugs. Then they go on the road on Saturday afternoon to battle the Terre Haute North Patriots. As always, I'd like to thank the head coach Kip Staggs for coming in. For Kip Staggs, along with Luke Cheatham, Bo Dilley, and I think Nate Long's back there too, who helped produce it. I'm Eric Meyer. We'll see you again next time inside Martinsville basketball.